Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2023 Dodge Hornet GT all-wheel drive. Up front is a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-4, and down below is a 9-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Dodge Hornet because it is brand new for 2023, and I mean completely new. It shares most of its parts with the Alfa Romeo Tonale, which is also a new vehicle for Alfa Romeo, so there's plenty of fun and interesting things to talk about with the new Hornet GT. But if you would like your vehicle featured here on the channel in a similar way to this Hornet, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and you would get a video of your car just like the one you're watching now. But let's get back to that 2-liter turbo under the hood, making 268 horsepower. Well, that number is quite fantastic if you ask me, especially in a vehicle at this size. This is known as the Hurricane engine. It's part of the Hurricane engine family from Dodge, Chrysler, FCA, Stellantis, whatever you want to call them. Let's see if I should shelter myself from the Hurricane or if it's going to get downgraded. Not bad. It's not a Mortal Kombat knockout, but it's quick and it's fun. This is a really solid powertrain when it comes to just driving enjoyment. And I wasn't quite expecting that out of the Hornet, so I'm happy to see that here. And all things considered, it's pretty dang good. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 9-speed automatic, and I don't notice it shifting at all. Unless I get on it and I hear those distinctive shifts, it's just doing its thing in the background and keeping me moving forward, which I can really appreciate. Last but not least, this is all-wheel drive, which is very nice, especially here for these Indiana winters. So how does it feel to actually drive the Dodge Hornet? Well, visibility is pretty good. The A-pillars are pretty thick, but you're gonna find this in pretty much most modern cars. You can take a look at this video and see if it's too thick for you. The steering is somewhat stiff, but it's very direct. There is a lot of road feel, but it's a very sporty drive. If you're looking for an SUV, because SUVs are ever so popular right now, but you don't want something that's gonna be completely soulless and gutless, the Hornet GT is actually a really good option for that. Taking corners, accelerating, stopping, I found myself smiling quite a bit. So that's what I love to see out of a modern car. However, we should touch on reliability, somewhat up in the air for these vehicles. I know the Fast Lane Truck did a review of a Hornet GT all-wheel drive system, and it basically broke right away. But at the same time, the owner of this Hornet GT has owned a lot of Dodge Darts, which share similar engines, similar transmissions, and are from the same company, and he said he hasn't had any major issues with his vehicles. In his time of owning Chrysler products, they've all been great for him, and so I hope that he has continued success with the Hornet, but the matter of fact is that these haven't been out long enough to really understand what's going to happen with them at 100 or 200,000 miles. And so at this point in time, it's a little bit of a gamble. So just take that into consideration. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have completely digital gauges that I can adjust. Off to the left is my speedometer, off to the right is my tachometer, and then I get a nice little infographic in the center, and I'll swipe through all the different info that you can see here in the gauge cluster. I think it feels very modern, which is sort of a feel that the whole Hornet has, as well as it gives me nice information. The colors are fantastic, and this seems to have heavy influence from the Alfa Romeos. I drove a Giulia several years ago, and I praised that gauge cluster screen. So it's either a coincidence or Dodge really dipped into Alfa Romeo's pockets when it came to the gauge cluster, and I'm happy that they did. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my steering and cruise control assist. So this will steer for you, as well as it has adaptive cruise on the highway. Off to the right, I do have my voice commands, my scroll wheel, and my volume options. And then to the bottom left, I have my sport mode button. On the Alfa Romeo, this is the start-stop button, but for the Dodge, this is just sport mode. The overall look and feel of the steering wheel is really, really nice, feels fresh and modern. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent and my headlight switches, and moving out of the door, I have my lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, I do get a little infotainment screen. This does have a very easy to use system. All of the icons are very recognizable. It seems to be pretty responsive. The only thing I don't like, which is a complaint across the board with Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, all of their subsidiaries, is that my heated steering wheel and heated seat options are ran through the screen, and I don't have a tactile button for them, which I would have liked to have seen. One thing I can absolutely praise the Hornet GT for having, it has a 360 camera at the base model, which is fantastic. I love to see that in cars, and I think that's a big, big win for the Hornet GT. It does lack a little bit of frame rate. When you're backing up, it gets a little bit choppy, but I am just so happy to see a 360 camera offered at the base for the Hornet GT. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well. Moving down below that, we have 2 climate control vents and our hazard switch, and then we have our climate controls. So I do get dual zone climate, again, really, really nice to see. And I have auto, fan speed, where to send it, all of your necessities. But again, no direct heated seat buttons found down here. Then we have the start-stop switch off to the left, automatic start-stop on and off. And moving into the center, we do have a little cubby with a 12-volt outlet, a USB-A as well as USB-C. Love that they offer both. And then a little cubby, which I could only imagine is filled with a wireless charger on upper trims, but not here in the GT. Moving down to the shifter feels nice, looks presentable, and does the job. Off to the right, we have a volume and scroll knob, which I love. Then we have the power parking brake. We have the traction control on and off, and our parking sensors on and off. Then we do get cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and I actually tested this vehicle at the 2023 Chicago Auto Show, but that was a different trim level, and sometimes automakers do change the cup holders between trim levels, but alas, this GT suffers the same fate as the GLH. Then I do get a center console with only the necessities in it. And then we gotta talk about the seats. The seats have mixed materials on them, and actually they are pretty comfortable, but in a very Italian way. Not only was this vehicle built in Italy, but it shares a lot of influence from the Alfa Romeo team. And so the seats are one of the major points that is very, very clear that this does have some Italian roots. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2023 Dodge Hornet GT all-wheel drive, and I am very happily surprised with the back seat space. Sitting normally, my knees are not hitting the seat in front of me. My head is not hitting the ceiling. I do get 2 vents back here, as well as a USB-A and USB-C charger. Love to see that. I get some LED lights back here. That feels modern. You wouldn't believe how many modern cars still have like yellow, like incandescent looking bulbs. But this actually has the nice white LEDs. I do have a center console, 2 cup holders in there. Nothing really crazy beyond all of that, but I am very, very pleasantly surprised with the back seat space. Speaking of space, however, let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Dodge Hornet. Anyone else kind of getting Porsche Macan, Porsche Cayenne vibes from the taillights? No, just me? Okay. Come down here, button to pop it up. Normally, you would get power tailgate options here, but this doesn't come with that. Once we are back here, we do get a 12-volt outlet that only works when the vehicle is on. That's what that key symbol is. If it had a battery symbol, it would work all the time. See, this is the kind of lights that I was talking about. This feels very, very outdated for a vehicle like this, but the owner of this Hornet, James, actually optioned a $300 spare tire to have a spare tire, which is something I probably wouldn't buy a vehicle without. So you can option it here on the Dodge Hornet, but it is a paid for option, which I think is a little obscene. The overall cargo space is pretty good, and you do have a pass through to the passenger cabin, as well as you can put the second row of seats down. Overall, pretty decent for the size that this vehicle is. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I think this is one of the strongest points of the Dodge Hornet is how it looks. I think it looks fantastic, and its sister car, the Tonale, looks great as well. This is finished in cue ball, which is obviously a reference to pool. The black color is 8-ball. This is cue ball, white, and I find that to be really, really funny. It looks really good, and moving up to those hood vents, they are actually functional, or at least they're real. I don't know how functional they are, but they are real, which is more than a lot of cars can say. But now let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Dodge Hornet GT? Well, I am actually very, very happy with this car. Here's the thing. Here's the overwhelming thought that I've been having while driving this car. This feels new. It feels different, and it feels modern, which are three adjectives that I haven't recently associated with Dodge products. Without major changes, the Charger, Challenger, Durango, Ram, and a lot of other products from Chrysler have felt the same for the last decade. I love the Durango. The Durango is a fantastic 3-row vehicle. My brother has one with over 100,000 miles, and he's loved it. He's really, really, truly loved that truck, or SUV, whatever you want to call it, with the 5.7 Hemi. He loves it. But let's be honest, it's been the same for a while. He had a 2013 Durango, and it almost feels like that Office meme where Pam has two of the same images. This is all new. It doesn't feel like Dodge of the 2010s. It feels very, very fresh. And I like that. The only question I have on the table is with the engine and transmission and just overall build quality. I'm driving this car with only a few hundred miles on it, so I can't really tell you. It'll be interesting to review one of these 5 or 10 years down the road and say, you know what? That was one of the most reliable cars Dodge ever made. Or maybe it won't be. Maybe it will be quite the opposite. I don't know. But I wouldn't really let that question keep you up at night. Now, the owner said that sometimes there is a bug that in sport mode, if you floor it, it kind of freaks out the traction control. So, freak out! Oh, didn't do it for me. It's fresh, it's interesting, it's different, and it's modern. That is what is important to me with this car. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to James for letting me take out his Dodge Hornet. I was so excited to get my hands on this new vehicle. It's just exciting to me to be in this line of work while these vehicles are coming out instead of reviewing them several years later. James has been absolutely awesome. I also reviewed his Chrysler New Yorker, which will be out on the channel sometime in the future, if not already. He's very, very knowledgeable, very down-to-earth guy, and I can't wait to work with him again in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.